everyone, and welcome back to the Take Your Mark podcast. I'm your host, Emmy.
And I'm Ruchi.
And welcome to episode 6, question mark?
6. Woo!
Okay. Look at this. We got a fancy new poster.
Yeah.
If you're a listener, you should go watch it so you can see our fancy new poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been a week since we recorded this time, so there's not
True.
as much to say. Oh, actually, though, this won't really be applicable by the time the episode comes out, but happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Yes.
At the time of recording, that was yesterday.
Yes, it was yesterday.
Hope all the women out there had lovely days.
Yes. And, yeah, women are powerhouses, so.
We love women.
I hope that, all the women out there feel really empowered and inspired.
Yeah. I hope men sent you money yesterday, as
Yeah.
they should. Oh, wait, you started swim again this week.
I did.
How has that been?
It was great, but also, it was a lot of yardage.
Yeah.
I already beat you in yardage.
No.
I'm telling you right now.
No,
I think it was literally the last episode. You were like, I've been doing 2,800 a week. I've already beaten you, and it's been week 1.
No, I know. No, that was the 1 year, because I did masters for a year, and I think that was the most consistently I've swam high yardage like that. Not even, I mean, it's not crazy high, but for an hour-long practice, they get a lot in there.
Yeah, ours is an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, an hour and a half. They usually hit 4K. So it's 4,000, 4,100, in that ballpark.
Okay.
It depends on what level you go with.
Yeah, I would imagine they split up the lanes based on how fast you are and how much endurance you have and stuff.
Yeah, so I think I was in the middle level. I got there, and the guy who's the coach of master swimming, I've seen him before. Remember when we went to practice? He was one of the guys that we'd walk past going to the pool. So he kind of knew me, and I also kind of knew him. So it was hey, what's up? I'm joining you now. But he kind of also knew my speed. So he immediately put me in level 2. And I was this might be hard. It was 130 pace for hundreds, basically, around that.
So
130, 125.
Doable, but not easy.
For a first week, after not swimming for at least 3 months, was a bit of a challenge. But hit 3,600 on day 1, 3,600 on the second day as well.
Nice.
So, yeah. 7,200 yards last week, which is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm going to go again this week. It's getting,
Yay.
Swim.
I'm feeling inspired to go. Okay. It was daylight savings this morning.
Yes.
I also just got back from vacation, so I'm really tired, but I'm really going to try and go swim this week on Tuesday. And maybe I'll try and go 3,000 this time. Just a little bit more.
Let's go.
I think I'm swimming before class, so there's only so long that I can swim.
Yeah.
Because I do have a hard cutoff.
Yeah.
And the pool only opens at 10, so there's only so much I can do. But
yeah, because my practice on Tuesday, Thursdays is 5:30 to 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was still thinking 5:30 p.m. and I was like, you have a 14-hour practice. Like I said, I'm a little bit tired. I had coffee this morning. It has not kicked in yet.
Hopefully midway through the episode, we just see you get locked in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll probably have more coffee after this. I have to do 10 hours of GIS homework today. Well, by Wednesday. So I have a little bit more time. But so excited to make
lovely.
maps.
Yeah. Sounds so lovely. Yeah, there's nothing else really new with me. I mean, swim.
Yeah.
That's it. Swim. I'm so back.
That's good, because I know it's been kind of a back and forth of oh, maybe I could try this, and then they didn't get back to you for a while, and then you were looking at YMCA, Planet Fitness,
I was searching for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I finally found the thing.
Yeah.
And I get to swim again, which is great, in a very nice pool, which is also great. Not a YMCA pool.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. We can cut that out. That doesn't need to stay in there.
I have to keep that in.
The brain is not braining yet.
We're keeping the brain rot content in, of course.
this is so off topic, but speaking of brain rot, I forget if I've told you this. Do you want to know the side of Instagram I've ended up on recently?
What side?
German brain rot. So it's videos of like PNGs of fish like spinning and it's someone's talking in German, or it's like some object spinning. A lot of times it's like fish or cat and it's like the horizontal rotieren Fisch. And it's just videos of like just someone talking in German about like horizontally rotating fish.
What?
Yeah. So I need to get off the internet
What?
a little bit more. Luckily the weather's nicer this week, so I can go outside.
Yes.
I can watch my brain rot videos outside at least.
You can just, touch some grass and watch some brain rot content.
Yeah.
But that's like worse than brain rot.
I know. That is like decomposing brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think my screen time actually should be a bit lower this week.
Okay.
Because went to Florida for a couple days, got to go outside. I got sunburned. I made it all the way until the last day. And then I was sitting at a coffee shop and I was like, I need to sit outside because I'm not going to get to do this for a while. And so I sat in the sun for 2 hours and then I was at the airport that night with my face just bright red. But it was worth it. In terms of screen time being lower, I finished one book and I got most of the way through another one. So I was just doing a lot of reading and sitting outside and it was lovely.
That's great though. Anyway, enough yap. Let's move on to the topic of the episode. So our topic this week is mentorship. Swim in particular, and I think this is not even just swim, sports in general, you as a kid, especially if you grew up in the sport, I mean, I can't really speak for if you just start it later in your life, but when you grow up in a sport, you have that kind of journey of having a mentor and then becoming one. So when you started swimming, who did you look out for mentorship, and how did you pick a mentor in the sport?
So I think, like you said, this is having a mentor and becoming one is something that's common across all sports. But I do think something unique with swim is that there are kids of all ages on the same team.
Yeah.
Obviously with high school teams, it's within 4 years. And club teams, at least for me, it was a much bigger team. So it was more separated out. You have just your age group practice and you don't really interact with a ton of other people.
Yeah.
But for the summer team, it's there are kids from 5 to 18 years old all on the same team. And it's a small enough group and community folks enough that you do get to know the older kids and stuff. So I think that was my first kind of introduction to, not introduction to having a mentor sounds weird, but that was the first kind of opportunity I had, was just looking up to those older kids on the team. I think unfortunately, when I was really little, our older girls team was suffering a little bit. We didn't have a ton of
depth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there were some we had really good older guys on the team who were also super nice, really involved with the team. A lot of them were coaches. They would we had pep rallies and stuff and they would hang out with you. And I think also because I was decently fast, so I was kind of a more well-known person on the team. It made it easy to interact with them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was something I definitely looked up to them. And when we got to the end of the summer season, we had the all-star meet or championship meet, whatever you want to call it. There was a couple years where it was me and some older guys who went to that. So that was definitely, I think, the first time that I, had specific people that I was looking up to. And then also, your coaches and stuff, they're the ones who, especially when you're young, you don't really know whether they swam or not. I feel once you get older, you can kind of get a better feeling of are you actually someone who it's, not that it's worth me looking up to, but you just have more discernment there with different coaches. But when you're little, you kind of look up to all of your coaches as oh my God, you know everything. Like,
You're holy, yeah.
tell me everything.
Educate me, please. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like I said, with like those older guys on the team, there was a lot of overlap for me with the older kids on the team and who my coaches were. So I think that was kind of the whole group that I looked up to growing up.
Yeah.
How about,
How
I mean,
about
did you, I don't know how to phrase that question, but like, did you have a similar experience or?
I think, yeah, because I also started with like, you know, summer team, winter team. So it was the same dynamic of like older kids were coaches.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was kids who are old enough that it wasn't as weird for them to be mentors because they were so much older. Like they would have been high school kids or above.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that odd to me that they were mentors of mine. But same thing with like coaches. Like I just looked up to every coach. At that point, it was like the coach like knew everything. So I was very much like trying to like absorb as much knowledge as possible and also like get on their good side. So that they'd put me in the events I want in the meets and things like that.
Yeah, like
yeah.
you look up to them, but you also like, you know, maybe not everyone feels this, but I definitely always wanted to be the favorite. Like, I think it's just the teacher's pet in me extended to swimming.
Yeah, me too. There was one coach I had, and she would give you Smarties after races if you improved. Ooh. So that was something else too. Like, I really looked up to her because I could get a Smartie. And we had like donut Fridays. So if you could do like 50s fully underwater, coach would buy you a donut. And so that was like,
really?
Yeah, like if you could do a 50 fully underwater.
Interesting. That's far.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Like, this is like, it was something that you could do at any age. It was like up until.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So it was like a pool wide kind of challenge. It wasn't just like 8-year-old do it. But it was like.
Could you breathe on the turn or like come up on the wall? It was fully.
No, it was fully underwater. I did do it a couple times and I got free donuts, which was great.
We had this thing called like sorry, this is so off topic. We had this thing called the corner challenge where you'd go from like one corner of the deep end to the opposite corner of the shallow end.
Oh,
and that was like close to 50 meters or 50, I think 50 meters. Yeah. We didn't do a full like back and forth kind of thing, but the corner challenge was more of like a fun day activity.
Yeah.
I think I like blacked out the first time I did it because I don't remember doing it, but people told me that I did.
Did you win anything?
Yeah, bragging points.
That's so dumb. I only did it for the donuts, man. I was there because we had soft pretzel day and we had donut day.
No, yeah, we didn't.
It was great.
We didn't have that, but it for me, like the bragging points were worth it though, because I think I was like the youngest one to do it. So I was kind of like, oh my God.
You were also breaking records though. So you had other things to brag about.
Yeah, well, that's fair. But you know.
Our mentors, I guess, as kids were mostly like older kids. And I mean coaches, but it's because we saw them as like holy and like educators who were like, oh, these people, they know everything. But like, how was that journey like once you hit an age where you were like, okay, I get to kind of like pick who my mentor is? Because obviously as a kid, you don't really know and you just kind of accept who's around you as mentors. But once you hit, I mean, I'd say like close to high school-ish, like middle school, high school age, you kind of then get to know, okay, you know, I like this person. I want this person to be my mentor. So how was that process like? And like, how did you choose?
So I honestly, I didn't choose a like specific person. I don't think. I never really had like a formalized, not even necessarily like formalized, but even in my head, it wasn't like, oh, this is this one person who I like really look up to. They are my mentor. I think I did, you know, as you get older, I think for me, it was more so just like, oh, this is my favorite coach and stuff like that. And so you kind of naturally build a little bit more of like a mentor relationship with them because it was like, hey, you know, like, oh, this person, I feel like they really pay attention to my races and give me really good feedback. Or like we had I'm still thinking on my summer team because like I said, my high school team did not have great coaches. And like the kids I knew on the high school team were the same kids I knew on my summer team. So like even the older kids who I would look up to there, I knew them from summer. So like there wasn't a ton of, or sorry, I don't know where that sentence was going, but kind of the like coaching staff on my summer team changed pretty frequently because a lot of times it was like developmental kid, like they had developmental roles for like the 15-18s who would kind of come up, start coaching, and then some of them would stick around, some of them would kind of move on. So I think it kind of went through, depending on the coaching staff, I usually had like someone on there who I was like, you're my coach, not
Gotcha.
in that like, you know, possessive kind of way, but like
you are mine. You're
Yeah.
mine.
But you know, like you end up kind of having like that favorite coach who like is just more reliable for like giving you feedback, or if like you have a question about something, or you know, I wanted to make a request about like, hey, could I do this event, or like, hey, can I not stick around really late at this meet to some 100 IM, like that's who you would go to, you know. So I had like various ones of those throughout. But did you have like a specific person who was more consistent for you?
I mean, kind of, because we had a coach. So our coaches that did high school also did like all the other like clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, the same coach that I had when I was like 8, I had when I was 18.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I had like a consistent coach to look up to for sure. And at least in high school, I know you said like your experience wasn't like you had good coaches in high school, but in high school we had different coaches for different things. So we had like a distance coach versus like a sprint coach versus a stroke coach. So we had like, I really looked up to the distance coach that we had. And it was great because she was like on the record board at the pool for the 500. So like you said, reliable, like knew how to swim. Like knew how to swim the event, and like was good with giving me advice on like how to approach it, especially because I wasn't really a distance swimmer until high school. Because before that wasn't really an option.
Yeah, like you just don't have a lot of opportunity to explore that.
Yeah, so it was like once I hit like high school age, I don't know what happened. I suddenly got thrust into the life of distance freestyler. I was like, okay, because I was technically a butterflyer until then.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, freshman year, they were like, you're good at free. We're putting you there. And I was like, all right. But it wasn't. It was 200 and 500.
Yeah.
Which 200 free sucked, but that's
the worst
the
event.
point. Yeah, one of the worst events. But then, like, when I got put in the 500, it was hard because I had never really swam it before. So I didn't know how to approach it of like, do I take it easy? Do I go fast and then gas out? What's the strategy here to approach the event? And so she was definitely a good resource when it came to like giving me advice of like, okay, well, first 100 focus on this, last 100 just all out, you know. So both of those coaches, I think I'd say, were like consistent mentors.
Yeah.
She did only stay at my high school, I think, for like a year or two, but still within like the year, she was like my mentor. And then our distance coach changed. But then the guy who came in, he was also really cool. So I did, you know, I still looked up to both of them. In terms of like people around me, I feel like at least when I hit like 13, 14, like close to starting high school, I didn't really have mentorship in terms of like older people except the coaches.
Yeah.
Like the first couple years of swim, I was doing it purely for the love of sport. Like the team around me, I felt pretty excluded. But then like once I hit upperclassmen, and then that's when kind of like the shift happened, which we can dive into, where I became like the mentor for other people. That's when I kind of started to feel like included in the team. And so like, I mean, obviously I was still learning from all the people around me, but I wouldn't say like any of them were mentors, if that makes sense. They were just people around me that like, oh, you know, she does this is her tactic. Well, you know, that's what I need to work on. Let me learn from her. That was kind of the dynamic there. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense for like you having a more specific mentor on your high school team with the coach, because like you had a specific gap in your skills and knowledge where you were like, I need someone to coach me through this. Whereas I feel like for me, I wasn't a distance swimmer, and like, you know, you kind of grow up doing more sprints. So I never had that like, hey, there's this like specific thing that I need someone for. So that makes sense.
Yeah, the skills transformed somehow. Like, I used to be a breaststroker, which is so
Really?
weird. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. I was a really good breaststroker when I was like 10. And then I hit like middle school age, high school, all of a sudden became a freestyler out of nowhere. Like, I don't know what happened. I swam at like a different club instead of like the high school club
Oh, okay, gotcha.
team.
Yeah.
So I swam with that club team, and that club team was much more intense. The coach, she was great. Like the coaches there, they've coached like a few Olympians before, and people who are like super fast. But yeah, like both of them weren't mentors to me in that way. They were just extremely inspirational and like just like so knowledgeable that, again, I was there just like, give me the knowledge, please.
No,
Yeah.
you just remind me, I did have a coach like that. It was when I like started getting, you know, really intense into club for a little bit when I was like 9 to 12, I would say. I had this one coach who like, this was when we were doing the morning practices. So like 4:30 to 6 a.m. And she was so good, and like actually made me want to show up to morning practice and swim. But I think it was kind of the same thing where it's like, and maybe she was a little bit more of a mentor, because even when I like later see her at high school meets and stuff, like she still remembered me and I would like go talk to her and stuff. But it was more than like specific mentorship about like how to get better. It was more so just like the inspiration of wanting to be there.
Yeah.
And I feel like we talked about this a little bit before the episode too, but how like how the Olympics also functioned like that for us, where it's like it's not a mentor, but it was still such a big like, I feel like there's a big overlap between being a mentor and having that like inspiration and motivation.
Yeah, I was about to say that actually.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like, we want to talk about the difference between the two, because I think that's also really important to, because both of us said like technically they weren't mentors, but like we wanted their knowledge. So it was like, I guess, what is that distinction between someone who's just inspirational and knowledgeable versus someone who you'd classify as like, oh, they're my mentor?
I think a mentor has a little bit more of that like personal relationship, I would say, where like not only are they, I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but I think it's, when I think of someone being like inspirational or motivational, they're kind of, you know, they're giving good feedback or good advice or like modeling something that you want to replicate, but it's not specifically for you.
Okay.
You know, whereas a mentor is more so, there's like that kind of personal tailored, even if it is like, I mean, obviously when you are coaching someone, there is still like, you're going to tailor, you know, the feedback you give to the individual person, because that's how coaching works.
Yeah.
But I think for me, at least for mentorship, there is like, I'm also realizing like, I don't know if this fully applies, because like I was saying, where there's the older kids on the team that I look up to. A lot of times like that mentorship was more so just them like acknowledging you and being like, you know, you look up to them and then they go, hey, nice job. But I guess that is still like, there's that reciprocation of like, not only are you looking up to them, but they also like are acknowledging you specifically and wanting you to be great. So I guess that coach, in that sense, then that coach was a mentor to me, because like she did have that like, you know, personal kind of thing. I guess I just never really thought about it like that. But I think that's then the distinction when you get into like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics don't care about me.
Yeah, none of those athletes know you as on an individual level. So because that's something really important, I think, with mentorship, is that they know you, they know your style, they know how you learn, things like that. Same with being a teacher. But yeah, I did want to mention, I did pull up the video before this very inspirational race, the 2008 Beijing Michael Phelps relay. Yeah, Michael Phelps, Jason Lezak, This is not the right order, but I'm saying their names. Michael Phelps, Jason Lezak, Cullen Jones, and what was his name?
This is the one you specifically said you looked up.
Garrett something. Hold on.
I gotta say, guys, I like went to use the bathroom before we started recording. I come back in here and she's just like staring at her laptop watching this race, which also, if you've never watched it, A, incredible race.
Go watch it, please.
B, I think the 2008 Olympics are the last time you see people in the like full body swimsuits.
Yes.
Because they were made illegal in the sport after that. They're so silly looking. I highly recommend going and watching it.
They are. Garrett Weber-Gale was his name.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But you should watch that relay. It gives me chills every time I watch it. That final leg.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it is like that was something growing up. I feel like every time the Olympics came on, you know, we would watch them. And even if there wasn't like a specific race like that would really stand out to me, it was still like I'd come out of that being like super motivated and be like, oh my God, I want to go to practice. I have like, you know, kind of reaffirmed in like, these are the goals that I want to hit.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that would fade, but it was still like, it still had that kind of motivational purpose.
It still reignited like the fire of just the love of the sport. Because you still love the sport, but then every time the Olympics would roll around, I feel like, again, the same thing where you were saying acknowledgement, you got recognition from people in the sense of like, not because obviously we didn't go to the Olympics, but because people would watch swim on the swim on such a big stage at the Olympics, you felt so proud to like be in the sport and even to like just even in a fraction, like even just a fraction understanding what they're doing, what they're going to.
No, like being able to be like, oh yeah, like that's the event that I swim, or like knowing how like stuff works and stuff.
Yeah. Same with like just watching races and going like, oh, like, you know, Caleb Dressel, his underwaters are great. Like looking at details like that. And I'm the type of person who likes to analyze races just to kind of see where I can improve, but also then like, I also just love analyzing the race itself too, and seeing like, you know, especially there's some people who are really fast and it's like, okay, what are you doing differently? Like obviously, you know, my fitness and your fitness aren't the same, but like what technique wise are you doing differently that could maybe help me out? So yeah.
This is another tangent. I don't tend to like analyze races all that much, but I find it fascinating during the Olympics, specifically with breaststroke, to see everyone, because like I feel like most other strokes, like people's strokes look relatively similar.
Yeah.
But breaststroke, like it varies so much, but obviously they all made it to the Olympics. So I love looking at them being like, so what's going on here?
Yeah.
Especially because I did swim breaststroke.
That's
in
what
high
I was
school,
about to
so
say.
Like,
I was about to say that. Like, it's also pretty based on what we swam. Because I feel like I tend to analyze butterfly a lot. And also, like, Katie Ledecky, which is, like, again, events I swam, breaststroke, event you swam. So it's like, okay, it makes sense. But, yeah, no, definitely another inspirational thing that we, I guess, get inspiration from. That we, you know, we get knowledge from and inspiration. So, yeah, I guess the difference between something like that and a mentor is just that personal connection of having kind of just having that relationship on a personal level. Yeah. Like they know your name, you know, because unfortunately, Katie Ledecky, Michael Phelps, none of them are blessed enough to know our names yet.
They might be fans one day.
Yeah, we could get them on a pod, maybe. Maybe, you know?
Just start DMing them. Hey, listen to this. Listen to this.
Take your mark. Out now. Go. You know, we talked about mentors growing up, but when did you kind of start to realize, wait, now I'm a mentor?
I think it started, honestly, probably like before you kind of I think it starts before you realize it. Yeah. Because I think growing up, you're always kind of told, like, you know, there's at some point when like the coaches switch from telling you like, oh, you know, like kind of look at these people, look what they're doing, and then all of a sudden they start going like, the younger kids are looking at you now. And I don't think you really like internalize that for a couple years, because it takes a while to realize that it's like, oh, I am one of the older kids now.
Yeah.
So I think it probably started around when I was like 13, because that's also when I had my first kind of coaching-ish sort of gig. It was for like 4-year-olds, so a lot of them weren't really they weren't going to be on the team. Like their parents were just like, yeah, learn how to swim.
Yeah.
But there were some families who, especially if they had like older siblings who were already on the team, who kind of knew me. And then I think because like the kids at that point who are like young enough to look up to you are kind of too young to like know themselves who to look up to. So a lot of it came down to, at first, like the parents knowing who you were and telling their kids like, hey, look at this person.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, you would see them at the meet, and you know, if you coach their kid, then they're like, oh my God, great race. And their kids be like, yay, good job, Coach Emmy. And it's like,
the high voice is crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how it started, was with, like, it seems backwards, but it's almost like the people not on the team, the parents kind of recognize it first and tell their kids about you.
Yeah.
And then it, like, I think as you kind of take on more leadership roles, like as I became a more senior coach, started coaching older kids who then like did have more of a like conscious decision of who they looked up to and who was on the team and stuff, just more awareness of that. Like then it becomes a more formalized sort of thing. And I think there is a difference though, I think, between like we said, of just being an inspiration kind of thing and being like a specific mentor to someone, because you was also like, when you're a coach, obviously, you know, you have to coach everyone and give feedback to everyone, but you can't be a specific, there's leadership, but you're not necessarily a mentor to everyone.
Yeah.
So that kind of came in with like, you know, there were kids who were more involved or who you like bonded with more closely just because of their personality and stuff. And I feel like that's then when like you actually become a mentor.
Yeah.
And like my summer team also, we had swim buddies where you'd get paired with like a couple little kids. And you know, before a meet, you would bring them like a little gift with some candy and like a little note being like, oh my God, good luck. Like swim fast. And then you'd watch their races and give them high fives and stuff. So like that, even if that wasn't as much of a like coaching mentor role, like I never gave those kids feedback on their races, but it was still it was more of a mentor role in the sense of like bringing them into the community and bringing them as like a valuable part of the team.
Yeah. Like you were there for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think kind of the last step of this for me was then in high school, becoming, you know, just as you get older, you become a captain. I was trying to think of that word for like 5 minutes before we started filming.
Oh my God.
When you like, even if you like, before you're a captain, if you're kind of like on the path to becoming one, you know, like you start to do certain things to like help out the captains. My team also, like, because we weren't great, we had a lot of really fun things we would do at the meets. Like we always would bless the lanes. So we brought like a water bottle full of allegedly water from our pool, but like sometimes it was just a water bottle.
Okay.
And we'd like, before the meet, you'd go down and be like, we bless these lanes with like fast starts, strong turns, and great finishes. And you'd like pour the water and like
holy water.
Yeah, no, like literally, yeah. It's like we brought this water from the faraway land of our school, and like we'd pour it in and stuff.
That's funny because we had weird quirks like that too. I mean, we never did that. That's very weird. But coach would say,
allegedly, one time someone peed in the bottle on the bus.
Oh, see this that's weird.
I don't know if that's true, but
that's weird.
We also did like we would always challenge the other team to a rock paper scissors match after warm up. So like we'd all hop in the shallow end and make them like bring them around, and we had it was like no 2 out of 3, like very specific rules. And I lost my voice every high school meet because like I was the one doing the blessing the lanes at the beginning and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
And like leading cheers and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
But sorry, I cut you off on your weird.
Well, I was gonna say our weird quirk was that like our coach, so he's the kind of guy who like has motivational quotes, or like he comes up with them. So like he was like, there's the 3 H's, like happy, hungry, and and something else, I forget.
Healthy?
Hangry.
Oh.
I just said hangry. I don't know what it is, but he had like 3 H's, and he was like, be a closer. And then he said to me, and he said to our team, not even just me, our team, he said, teams who touch the most win the most. So,
Ew.
we didn't make this weird. It sounds weird, but we didn't make this weird. We would just hit each other on the head.
Okay.
Hit caps.
Yeah.
But like the quote itself out of context is crazy.
I mean, granted, my team screams shower time at the end of every practice, so like I have no room to judge.
You can't say anything. You got to be quiet over there. That's weird.
There was one time we went into like the family bathroom. There was like 6 of us just in there, like shower time, and then eventually it was like me and one other girl and a couple guys, and we were like, we have to leave.
Wait, did you guys have one locker room for girls and guys?
No. There were separate girls and guys locker rooms, but we went to like the family bathroom. That was like,
that's so weird, Abby. That's so weird.
Well, okay, it was supposed to be more people, and then a lot of people left, and then it was me and one other girl, and we were like, yeah, we gotta leave. The guys could stay and do whatever they want, but we gotta leave.
That's so weird. Oh my god. Well, very tangential yet again. Sorry, where were we?
The teams that touch each other the most
win the most. That is true. That is true. But
I guess your team was good, and mine wasn't. So maybe we should. I'm not gonna say that.
So evidently, we know why.
Yeah, clearly.
We clearly know why.
I had kind of finished up, like, again, on high school, becoming a captain, you became more of a mentor, because then, like, you have to kind of bring up the next round of people to take over, especially with, like, we had some weird, like I said, weird traditions, but, like, you need to have someone who's, like, you have to get up there and scream, and if you don't commit to it, it's a little embarrassing. So, like, but if you commit to it, then it's, like, it's just fun, Like, the other teams always were like, yeah, like, your guys' team seems so fun. You guys are always, like, we love the rock, paper, scissors and stuff. And so, like, you just kind of had to commit to it. And, like, a big part of mentoring was, like, bringing up the next round of people to, like, kind of keep those traditions alive. Because, like, look, we aren't going to win the meets. So you got to have fun another way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the end of my, like, journey of becoming a mentor.
Okay.
So if you want to go through yours, starting with wherever, I don't know why I said you have to start somewhere. Start wherever you want.
Sure. Okay. So technically speaking, right, we are a mentor almost immediately because there's always kids younger than you.
Yeah.
So it's almost immediate, but I didn't register it like at all probably until I hit like you said, like 13, 14. Like I was going into high school. At that point I was like on the older side of the club.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, like people look up to me now. People come to me for advice, people come to me for like help with technique, any of that stuff. Then you start to kind of see like, okay, I am kind of a mentor. People actually look at what I do, and I'm technically a role model for these people. So I have to be like this has to be a game. Like I have to be on top of it, which in a way isn't exactly the best mentality because like that can really get toxic quickly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of when I first started to notice that I was a mentor. And then I also coached, but I started coaching like middle of high school. So it wasn't as like early on for me. But through coaching, I was a mentor, but it was more so for me. Coaching was more so about giving back to swimming as a whole. In terms of mentorship on the team, again, like I said, like freshman, sophomore year of high school, I felt pretty like isolated. But then once I hit like junior, senior year, and people actually like, again, looked up to me and like asked me questions and like were like, trying to, get advice or whatnot. That's when I was like, okay, I'm a mentor for other people. And once again, role model. So I got to be like on my A game. But especially with us, so what was different about our team was that with captains, every senior pretty much, we would just take turns being captains. There wasn't anyone who was like significantly like, you're captain, the rest of you aren't captain. So we all kind of shared that responsibility as seniors. there wasn't many of us when it was my senior year. I think there was only 9 of us.
Okay.
Our team was like 40 or 50.
Okay.
So there was, I mean, it was a solid group of us, but we would kind of rotate in and out on who was captain of that meet at the time. But yeah, there was a few girls like when I became a senior who were 500, who were like getting into like swimming the 500.
Yeah.
That I genuinely was like, yeah, you're my you're my protege. Like you're gonna take my spot as I leave, because it was like you said, passing the torch. But for me, it wasn't as much about traditions. It was more so about what I thought was my spot on the team of like swimming the 500 and fly. I was like, I need someone who's going to take this spot over from me in that way. So that's how I thought of it. Cause we didn't have weird traditions like that. we had the quote.
Like, I mean, every swim team has their own thing.
Our coach, he was just such like a motivational, inspirational kind of guy of like, he always had every day new quote on the board. Like, and he always had a countdown for like countdown till leagues or whatever. And so he just was like that. Like he just exuded motivation. So that was kind of my journey, I guess, as a mentor. I mean, cause I also kind of took after him too, because I was around motivational people. Yeah. So I was trying to exude what I got back out to other people. Yeah. So that was kind of my journey, I guess, as a mentor. I will say though, I think once I hit college, I don't know if as a senior this past year I was a mentor or not, which I think is an interesting question.
I never showed up, so I definitely wasn't. Yeah. I think
I didn't really show up to practice. It was just meets, but I don't think people actually looked up to me as a mentor.
Yeah. I think I got like a little bit of recognition like up till last year, because like, you know, I'd show like people still knew me from like my times at meets. So like at nationals, you know, like that group of people knew me in a sense, and they were like, I think I still had like a bit of respect that comes from like, you know, just the mutual respect of like, hey, you know, this is something you're good at, and you know, you have like the dedication to go to nationals and stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't think I ever, like I said, I don't think I ever bridged that gap from like vaguely inspirational to actually being a mentor, because I never actually got to know anyone. Yeah.
And I think what's also like something to put out there too is like, you don't have to be fast to be a mentor.
No, absolutely.
And I think like that's something like, as we speak, like when I'm saying someone takes my spot, it sounds like I'm incredibly fast and I just want someone like as fast to replace me. And that's not what I meant at all. I just meant like, I wanted someone who wanted to do that kind of, that stroke and that kind of double and grow in that spot. Just like how I ended up there and grew in the spot. And I think like there's a lot of times where your mentors didn't do the sport that you even are doing, and also like were bad at it. Like they could have been like really slow, you know, but still they're incredibly knowledgeable about the sport, and they just can be such good mentors to you. Like even as a little kid, like maybe your mentor wasn't the fastest person on the team. It was just someone older who had more experience. And like sometimes the people who are slower, they failed more. They have more of that experience. Yeah. And you know, they've learned, like we talked about, that it's not like something that values them. Like just because they're slow, that doesn't mean that they're any less valuable to the team. They usually are the personality of the team. Yeah. The slow people. The fast people are just like the popular ones, but the slow people, they're the ones who bring the personality and the charisma to the team. Yeah.
That's like I think a lot of times when I'm talking about like my own journey as being a mentor, like I think speed comes up because
you got a lot of recognition for that.
Because that's was like in my own journey, like that is where I kind of got recognition from people, and that was, you know, I'm not, I can be very outgoing with, especially with swim. Like I said, like I would lose my voice at every meet cheering, because like it was like that was a place where I felt like I belonged, so I was able to be much more like outgoing. But in general, I'm not a super like outgoing person, so like having that kind of built-in recognition was like how I built that base to let me be more comfortable with like being outgoing, being a mentor for people. But like, honestly, even when I got older, like, I don't even know, like, a lot of the people that I looked up to, I have no idea what their speeds were. But like, once you get to the people who stick around long enough to like become a coach and like still be doing the sport when they're older are like the people who love it.
Yeah.
And that's what gives them like the ability to be a mentor is, you know, like they have those years of experience and stuff, but they care enough to like remember it and want to put it back into the community and stuff.
Right. Yeah. But I wasn't trying to like take a dig at
No,
you at all.
no, I know.
But I was just I just wanted to put out there that fact that like I didn't want to make it all about speed, because I think obviously speed plays a part because you know, some people are faster, some people are not. I mean, that's just how life works.
Just how sports work.
Unfortunately, yeah. But yeah, so speed definitely plays a part in like who knows you, and you know, because I mean, fast people aren't just even known within their own team; they're known within like their whole like division and the state and whatnot. So like people know the names of the fast people. But in terms of mentorship, I don't think speed should even be a factor when it comes to like your mentors don't need to be the fast people on the team.
No.
You can have amazing mentors who are slower, but like you said, love the sport so much that they want to put it back out. Like the love that they got from the sport, they want to put it back into the sport.
Exactly.
And I think that was me. I mean, I was decent. I'm not going to say I was slow, but I like that love that I got from swim was kind of what I wanted to put back out. And so I think that was the main thing I got out of being a mentor, which goes right into
I was about to ask
next question.
How did being a mentor to other people like benefit you?
So I think what was really cool was like that there was so much emotion attached to it. Like when you mentor somebody, you could be doing absolutely terrible, but seeing them succeed just makes you so like, again, smiling ear to ear smiling ear to ear, giddy, just like excited, happy, like all the feels. You just feel it. It's amazing. Like the pride and just the joy, the pure joy that you feel. And that's not in a selfish way either, because I'm sure when someone was mentoring you, that same emotion was there, unless they were a bad mentor, which fair enough. Like if they were mad that you did well, they shouldn't have been your mentor. But like, you know, that seeing that, it's like you can see the like love that swim gave you, and like when, for example, when you did well in a race, that just that emotion that you got, because the feeling of winning is one of the main things I think that keeps people in like athletics going, right? It's just like that happiness and joy when you do amazing or you win.
Yeah.
Like that's why you keep going. Love for the sport, and also like that feeling of winning. And
I
so
keep thinking about, whenever you say the feeling of winning, I keep thinking about like those gambling ads, and it's like, oh. But
okay, I don't mean it like that.
No, like I totally agree. Which is why those ads are really effective for some people. But yeah, like that's just,
you keep chasing that feeling. You know, like that's a lot of times what drives you is that kind of just this. It's literally pure joy. That's what is driving you. So it's basically like that pure joy which you got, you're giving to somebody else. Yeah, and just seeing that exchange also gives you pure joy, because you're just like, wow, like, you know, that girl who I saw when she was this small, you know, and now grown into this spot, and did what? Like dropped a ton of time or won the race. Like that, just that growth and seeing that, just so much emotion, and just, it's just awesome. Like I don't literally speechless. Like I don't know what to say, but like, it's just awesome. It's so cool. What about you? What do you think? What do you get out of being a mentor?
I think it's very like basically what you said about like, it's just that feeling of like getting to see other people succeed, and kind of like, I mean, you said it's not selfish, but in a way, like it is also your victory if like you help them get to that. And I don't think it's selfish to be like, you know, proud of something that you contributed to. And it is, but it is just like, you know, it's something that they've worked towards, and you get to help them.
I think it is selfish if you like, if that the reason you're doing it is for the feeling.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
That's when it's selfish. But I do agree with you that like the feeling you get is almost like a byproduct.
Exactly. Yeah. Because like you're proud of them for the work that they put in, and you're also like kind of by extension proud of yourself for like helping them get to that point. And that, I mean, obviously that kind of depends on like the type of mentor that you are. Like I said, like if you're more of a like coaching mentor, there's like, oh my God, they won this race, they dropped time. But if there's more of like kind of like I mentioned with having the swim buddies or on my high school team, that feeling of, when someone is, gets really involved with something, or they come up, and especially, there's a lot of times when kids are younger, their parents put them in the sport. They don't necessarily want to be there. Yeah. But when you see them like having a great time, or their parents come over and they're like, hey, like, I just want you to know this person had, a really great time today. They, they love this little gift that you gave them, stuff like that. Like that feels so good when you, when, like, you make someone else feel better, and that feels great. And I think then knowing that will kind of continue as a cycle of like, the more you get other people to enjoy the sport, then they can contribute in the future and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that is like, that's what I get out of it. There are sometimes I think that it can be a little bit hard. Like there was this one girl growing up on the team who like, I think she looked up to me a bit. We were really good in like similar events in 50 back. She's 5 years younger than me. I think she's going into like her second to last summer season. Okay. And she ended up breaking my backstroke record that I had set. Oh. I think she broke 2 of them. She broke at least 1 of them. She might have broken 2 of them. And so like, and that is obviously, I'm so happy for her because she worked so hard for that and like really wanted it. Yeah. And so, but it is like, it's a little bit bittersweet sometimes when it's like, obviously I'm when so happy for you, but like I've passed the torch on. Yeah. About, that's your accomplishment now. Yeah. And so I think that can be a little bit hard depending on the circumstances. Yeah. And I don't know. I'd like to think I was at least a bit of a mentor for her or an inspiration. I don't know for sure. But I think like it can be a little bit hard to be in that position, but at the same time, like seeing how happy she was and knowing how hard she worked for that, like at the end of the day, it was still so worth it. Yeah.
Mentorship is awesome. And I'm glad I had a mentor, and I'm glad I could become one, because just the emotion and the love of the sport, it got even more and more and more. Like it just improved. It got better. I got more, happiness and joy from it than I think I could have ever realized when I was 7 or 8 when I started the sport.
No, yeah, I think it adds a whole other level to it. It's, it's not just doing the sport. It's, having other people, it adds a level of community to it, because you're then like, there's people helping you be better at the sport or just be like, a better person. And then you also get to turn around and give that back to like the next generation of people. Yeah. And like we said, there's the love of the sport. You can show up every day and swim and love it. Yeah. But having that added something is like, it just changes it, and it's so much better. Yeah. Even if it's hard sometimes, especially sometimes you're exhausted. I don't really have the energy to like be excited for someone else, but you fake it and they appreciate it, and it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you could be having a rough meet, but even just like seeing someone else succeed, someone who you like, who maybe their journey has been, really up and down, and like they've finally like hit somewhere that like, it's taken forever to get there. Like that happiness still is there, even if your meet is going terribly and you're doing terribly. Yeah. So it's just great that like that there's that relationship there too, of like everyone just wants to see everyone do well and wants to see everyone succeed. Yeah. And I mean, I mean, it's the same with obviously we're not really mentors to each other because
Yeah.
we're the same age, but like there's the same kind of level of like, oh, like even if I'm doing terrible at a meet, when you broke 25 that one meet, didn't you break 25?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I-
When you
I got 24.99.
yeah, when you broke 25 at that meet, I'm pretty sure I was doing awful, but I was like, this is great for Emmy. Like, this is awesome. So like,
Thanks.
yeah, so you know, the level of like of that, it's not even just a mentorship thing. It's like honestly just a
It's
team
just
thing.
mutual support.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with swim being an individual team sport where like a lot of times you're competing against your teammates. Being able to, like you said, you know, having mentors who are older than you, mentoring people who are younger than you, but then just having that like mutual support with people your same age is really important for like keeping the team together, because otherwise it gets kind of like there is no team. It's just you happen to be wearing the same suit.
Yeah.
But
It's great though, like just when you compete against your teammates and your teammate does well and you do well because
Oh,
both
that's
of you
great.
have
Yeah.
pushed each other to do better than you've done in the past. Like the emotion you get, it's like it's priceless. Wouldn't change it for the world. Like it's so just pure joy. It's like not only have you succeeded, you've seen your friend succeed. It's like yes. Yeah. So our main takeaway is
it was
what?
just we love swim.
We get joy from this sport. That is
Yeah.
our main takeaway. And that's why we've done it all these years, probably. Like
Yeah, and I think
one of
that
the reasons at least.
there's a lot of joy that you get like outside of just, you know, racing. There's
And
so
winning,
much
yeah.
there's so much other like, and you know, being a mentor a lot of times helps you do better in that. But there's so much else outside of that as well.
Like individually, you're chasing the win, but you're at the same time just chasing the joy of seeing other people win, seeing everyone succeed, seeing your team succeed.
Yeah.
It's just chasing success. That's how we can sum it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wrapping it up here?
I think
All right.
we are good to wrap it up there if you would like to take us out.
Yes. Take us out.
Yeah, just come over and punch me, knock me out real quick.
To wrap this very wholesome conversation up, thank you all again for watching, listening, doing everything, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, please. We appreciate it. We see it, so you know, sending all our love to you guys, and we want to see you guys succeed. I guess that's
We do.
yeah, you know, I'm not the stick anymore. I've become the carrot. We want to see you succeed. And yeah, we're cheering for you always.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very all over the place outro. But thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.